This channel is made possible through the support of generous listeners just like you. If you would like to be a part of helping us bring our message of hope, peace, love, and spiritual truth to the world, please consider heading to experienceofthesoul.com/support, where you can join us as an ongoing patron or simply make a one-time gift. Blessings on the journey, dear friend.
Natural Awakenings Magazine and Zen Living Realty present The Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly show featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from diverse perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 108, Commit to the Journey. And now your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I am the host, and I'm here in my home studio with my producer.
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Croft. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 108 of the Authentic Spiritual Journey. I hope that you are well and safe, and thank you so much for joining us today.
It's going to be a great show today, and I'm so thrilled, to talk about our other show that's coming on board. Dave, when we started, we really had a vision. I'll never forget our first meeting where we talked about, do we want to just have a show or do we want a channel? Mm-hmm. And so you helped me broaden my horizon a little bit and broaden my thinking, for the future. And boy, has that paid off, because it is far less than 2 years. I mean, we're at what, a year and a few. Where are we actually?
Yeah, we're actually coming up right at 2 years.
I was going to say it's coming up on 2 years. Yeah.
We might have already passed 2 years. I think
we were so busy having fun doing the show, we forgot.
Know.
Yes, actually, it was July,
wasn't it?
Yeah,
the beginning of July. Yep, 2 years. Man, we didn't even celebrate that.
So, like at 2 years, we are then really further than I thought we might be. I was hoping to have at least one other show, and now we're going to have a second one coming on next month. I don't know if you want to say anything about that now.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk. Of course, a few months ago we brought on Mindy Corcoran with Real Grief, Real Healing, and that's been so well received, and such a powerful episodes, both Mindy's stories and the stories of her guests. So we really thank you for your support of that show. But we're also bringing on the one, the only, Monique McDonald, with a very special co-host. Shannon Croft is going to be co-host of that, and her podcast is The Magnetic Voice. And so it's going to be really, really exciting, and we're going to start in August. That's when those are going to start going out into your podcast feed every other Saturday. So it's going to alternate with Mindy's show. Mindy's going to be the first and third Saturday of the month, and Monique's show is going to be the second and fourth Saturday of every month.
I'm really happy to be bringing that on. Both very, very powerful women. And I know it's really going to bless our listeners. We'll say more about it as time moves forward. But we welcome you to show 108. And I want to point out the spiritual symbology in that number, rather the spiritual significance of those three numbers, which the number 108 is the number of prayer beads on a prayer mala. And so, the 1 is for the one presence, the everything. The 0 is the nothingness, and the 8 is infinity. So we are all things, we are nothing, and yet we are infinite. So, and that is a great beginning to this show. Dave, did you give the title?
I think I did, but maybe not. I don't know. The title of today's show is Commit to the Journey.
Commit to the Journey. Yes. Well, when I'm at home and Dave is at home, we can't see each other as well. So for some reason, I wasn't connecting as much with if you said commit to the journey, but I'm glad you said it again. Commit to the Journey, show 108. It's really important. And then next week, I just want to mention too, we're going to have Jane Elizabeth Hart on, and
very powerful show.
Yeah, that's really going to bless our listeners. I mean, the studio really had a vibe and an energy, when we did that interview. So we welcome you to the show, dear friends. As always, thank you for your loving support. We've had some new sponsors come on board, and again, we're bringing on the new show. So as you can see, we're continually putting money back into the channel so that we can serve you more and better, with more shows. So today, commit to the journey is just about that. I wanted to take our time with this idea. Commit to the journey. What does this mean? Well, it seems simple, right? That to commit to the journey means, okay, I'm going to do this. But what I've noticed over the years in working with people, and I've really noticed it in my own journey as well, that when things get tough, we go, well, I don't know about this journey. We go, well, I'm not sure if this is a good idea. Maybe I'm not doing it right. So to commit to the journey is a powerful spiritual step. You have to love yourself enough to commit to your spiritual journey. You have to love yourself enough to commit to your spiritual journey. Here's what I mean. If our spiritual journey is about getting our needs met, uh, getting our emotional needs met, having people like us, going to the right church, being in the right spiritual community, then it's for the wrong reason. Mm. But on the other hand, if our journey is about deepening our awareness of the divine in us and all around us, if it is about growth, if it is about evolution, if it is about prospering and experiencing all the good God gave us, well, that's a real authentic journey. And of course, that's the name of the show, Authentic Spiritual Journey. What I find in working with people one-on-one is that people that jump around in spiritual communities and that go from teacher to teacher to teacher to teacher are usually not delving deeply into their own journey. And it seems to me that they haven't gotten to the point of loving themselves enough to trust their decision to stay with the direction that they have chosen. I hope, Dave, is this making sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's like you felt like, hey, I'm going to do this, and you felt led to do this, and then you kind of go down the path, and maybe maybe things didn't quite work out the way you wanted, or maybe God had a different plan, or the universe threw you a curveball, and then suddenly you're like, oh well, maybe I didn't hear, maybe I was wrong, or maybe I just missed something or messed something up, and yeah, I've been there.
Right. And we all have. And I think what the universe is asking of all of us right now is a really strong commitment to the spiritual ideals that we hold dear. We're seeing all kinds of chaos all around us. We know that I think 5 planets were in retrograde, which just sounds bad. I don't know enough to talk at depth about it, but it sure sounds like everything going backwards isn't a good idea.
Yeah, there are several movies where that's a very bad idea.
Yeah, right. Um, so when things get hard, that's when we kind of, drop into the fear place and basically run because we don't know what to do. So we run emotionally, we run spiritually, we run, by hopping around, by moving, by doing all different things. So we want to slow everything down and see what's coming up for healing and continue to stay committed to our own path and our own journey. I think, and I could be projecting, but I think what I see so often in people I work with is that if things don't go right, like right away on the journey, then they think, oh, well, I must not, maybe I shouldn't do that. Or as we say down south, I might not should have. Maybe I shouldn't do that, or maybe I was wrong. And so what happens is we get triggered about, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And then we back up and go another direction instead of just letting things settle and seeing if there's a big reaction or if things happen that we, weren't expecting. That doesn't mean we did anything wrong. It simply means there's a new direction that is being dictated really by our own soul. And so this is why commitment to the journey is so important, because there's not some outside force making you go a certain direction or making things happen. The God of your being and the God all around you, is one. And so as you set out on a journey, unknowingly, what happens is that you set a trajectory for your life. As you set this trajectory for your life and start moving down the path, you have decided on a journey. And so when something comes up in the path on that journey that's unexpected, rather than, detouring off the path, we want to pause and say, okay, why is this showing up for me now? Why in Spirit's infinite intelligence and God's infinite intelligence, why is this happening right now? In this very moment, why is this happening? And that's where your commitment becomes important, to committing to your practice, to committing to your the beliefs that you well, not even the beliefs, rather the principles that are supporting you on this journey. And we need to delve in deeper, not do less and go off in different directions. And I'm talking about this because of how much chaos we're seeing in the world, politically, socially. We're seeing systems break down that I'm thrilled are breaking down. Uh, I'm, I had a gentleman who's about, I don't know, I think he's 80 years old, say to me the other day, this is the bygone era of the dominant white male. And as a white male, he said, and I'm thrilled about that.
Yeah.
And so systems are breaking down. Well, that's a good thing. I'm all for it. I think it needs to happen. Our listeners know we've been a stand for diversity, for peace, for equality on all counts, for all, always. That's always been an aspect of my ministry. And what I'm seeing with all these systems breaking down is people getting into a depression, despair even. I'll even go that far. And when I ask, tell me, after these compassionate talks and sessions, I say, so how are you going to support yourself moving forward? Because you can't just come to church right now and get spiritually fed and then leave.
Yeah.
So the world needs our goodness. The world needs our energy and our commitment to our spiritual path more than ever before. It's incumbent upon us as spiritual souls to commit to the path. It's important for us to be able to be stable, to be at peace, to be able to be lights for the world, for the people around us, and for ourselves. We used to be able to go to church and get that. But right now, we're having to do this on our own. Yes, with the support of the ministry, of course. Yes, with the support of the podcast. Yes. So this is a new day. This is a new era. We've never before been forced into this kind of individual work where we couldn't go get our need met elsewhere. We are forced to learn to do it on our own. And that can be very, very difficult, especially when everything is changing. What we want to remember as things are difficult, as we're seeing, the political landscape has just been so dysfunctional for so long, and now it seems to have peaked. I should say, it seems to have hit bottom. If we were watching an addict, we would say our political system has hit bottom.
Yeah.
And it's time for some sobriety.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, I feel like other countries are trying to have an intervention with us, but we just keep not showing up, or we show up messed up to the intervention itself, and whether it's climate or whether it's, wars or whether it's poverty or whatever. Yeah, it's like the rest of the world is trying to wake us from our fever dream.
Right, and I think we're all trying to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's such a feeling of disconnect. There's such a sense of loss because we can't do the things we've always done. Even our recording, Dave, we're having to record long distance today. I don't think we said that because I have not been feeling well. My son was not feeling well in the last week. And it's like, it's really not worth it to put anybody else at risk simply because, I'm bothered by it.
Right. And, and we had a couple of shows where we did record in the studio, but
We did.
then numbers started blowing up again, and we had to, walk that back. And we're prepared to do that because that's the best thing to do for everybody involved.
Well, and that's part of our commitment to the greater good.
That's exactly right.
And I loved some of the things Dr. Donna Bevan Lee said a few weeks ago, when she was on that, she was saying, well, I really want to go on this trip, but because my adult self can say, Donna, this is not a good idea, even though the kid in me wants to say, yeah, let's go have fun and have a vacation.
Right.
Yeah,
and with Disney about to open and all of that, jeez.
Yeah, last I heard, Disney is still opening.
Mm-hmm.
And I also...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, and with schools and who... Yeah, I mean, schools are... How are they going to... I saw something that said, how are we supposed to social distance during our active shooter drills? And I'm like, everything is wrong with that statement. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Everything is wrong with that statement.
That's a plus of COVID. School shootings have completely stopped. That is a strange, strange world to even put those two phrases together.
Yep.
Yeah. So committing to your journey right now is super important, not just for you, but for the world. We often forget the incredible interconnectedness we have with each other and therefore the world. There is nothing we can do to separate ourselves from the rest of the world in terms of energy, in terms of our shared humanity. And, I gave a talk on that recently, and it's really alive in me today that when we're committed to our journey and we see our interconnectedness with our shared humanity, it gives me a lot of compassion. It gives me a lot of willingness to forgive. And yes, it gives me a lot of impetus to stay committed to my journey, because I know that I want my life to make a bigger difference than just me, paying my bills and having a place and something to drive. That I want my life to have a bigger, grander purpose. And the way I do that is by understanding and remembering my shared humanity and including that when I make decisions, which the most simple decision of staying home today, for our time of recording and connection. I want to be in the studio with Dave because we have a vibe, we have a thing, and we love it. But it was not meant to be today. Right? So because of our shared humanity and because of my commitment to that humanity, I'm going to make a choice that might be difficult for me in the short run, but in the long run, I know is the right choice.
Right.
Right. So I'm committing to the journey has far-reaching implications. I'm speaking of it, of course, as it relates to the spiritual journey. But the spiritual journey informs every other aspect of our lives. We often say in Unity that you are a threefold being. You are spirit, soul, and body. Right? So our spirit and soul, of course, are what are really working together on this spiritual journey, but it certainly includes the body. So how are we going to then commit to our process as it relates to the greater whole? So we can relate that too then to our shared humanity, right? So what we do spiritually to another, we do to ourselves. Our anger towards another, we're angering towards ourselves. Our goodness to another is goodness toward ourselves. So as we commit to the journey and really begin to understand the depth of our connection with others, of course, we want to stay committed. It doesn't become a chore, but it becomes a pleasure and it becomes a joy because we realize as we commit to the journey, we're helping all of humanity wake up. And this is very exciting to me. I know, Dave, you can't see me right now, but I'm smiling. I'm like, yes, I'm smiling from ear to ear.
I can hear it. I can hear the smile in your voice.
Yeah. So we want to be discerning about committing to our journey. And I want to say more about it. We do have to already take a break, I believe. So we'll come back right after these brief messages to talk more about commitment to the journey. Thank you for joining us.
We'll return to the program in just a few moments, but first, we wanted to give a special word of thanks to our podcast partner, Natural Awakenings Magazine of Central Florida, Greater Orlando. Each month, Natural Awakenings magazines across the country take a practical look at the latest natural approaches to nutrition, fitness, creative expression, personal growth, and sustainable living. Natural Awakenings magazine is a free publication and is available in selected stores, health and education centers, healing centers, public libraries, and wherever free publications are located. You could learn more, including advertising opportunities for your business, by calling 407-628-0705. We'd also like to extend our special thanks to Zen Living Realty. Zen Living Realty's mission is to mindfully serve, connect, and positively impact their customers, partners, and community through their Zen approach to real estate. Their vision is to be the most trusted real estate brokerage in the Central Florida area. You can reach Zen Living Realty at zenlivingrealty.com or call 407-800-2717. And now we return you to this week's episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey with your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Welcome back to part 2 of Commit to the Journey. And on the break, I was thinking that I want to be very careful when I say commit to the journey, that what you're not hearing me say is get calcified in a certain set of beliefs and don't ever be open to something else. I'm not saying that. I'm saying love yourself enough to commit to honoring your path. And so we've done several shows. I think one was called Honor the Journey, and this is called Commit to the Journey. By committing, you are honoring it, but I just find today that people have a hard time committing to something new and to deepening their practice, because there's so many things getting our attention in the outer that's like, oh, there's a new thing. And so during this time of the virus, where we literally have to go inside and do nothing, or we have to stay inside. I haven't figured out the doing nothing part yet, but as we are forced to go inside, it's a great opportunity to commit to our journey and to, if we're not doing a daily practice, to begin to commit to a daily practice. You know, there's a saying in the 12-step community that says, you know, if you treat the program like a drop-in program, that's what it will be, a drop in your life. And so so many of our listeners are in recovery of various kinds: Alcoholics Anonymous, Al-Anon, Nar-Anon, Debtors Anonymous, even sex and love addiction. You know, we have people from all different programs that listen. And especially as you're getting sober and you're, needing to go to regular meetings, if you don't commit to it, what you find is that your sobriety suffers because you're not doing the work to change your consciousness into a new way of thinking. So right now we're having to be home. Right now we're having to go inward. So this is just the time to commit yourself to your daily practice, to really honoring yourself and your journey enough so that you are ready for whatever is happening in life, whatever life may be sending. And we all know that there's things on the news that none of us can miss that, but then there's also life. I'm sure so many of us listening right now have either had a change in job status, or we have had a change in pay, or someone in our family has. Well, that brings anxiety, that brings worry, that brings a new level of awareness in terms of what's happening. Well, if you have not committed to your journey and you don't have that as a stable anchor in your life, you're going to be all over the place emotionally, up and down and up and down and up and down, and then worried, and then up and down, and then worried, and then anxious, and then mad, And so we're human, so we still have these feelings. But when we've committed to the journey, it's like we can always come back to ourselves in our daily practice. So, and that's what our morning practice is about. And I'll speak a little about this now because we are starting another class next month, a Dream Big, Live Big advanced course, another course where, and it's one of my more expensive classes because there's so much that the student receives in terms of resources and materials to change their life for the better. And part of that course is intensive daily work intensive daily spiritual work that includes working with your life's vision, your goal setting, your financial life. But what I've heard from the students that have really committed to their process, they say, my life will never be the same because now I have a very specific practice that I know I'm going to do every day, and it acts as an anchor for me in my life. So, the reason I'm talking about commit to the journey is because I want your spiritual practice to be an anchor for you. I want your spiritual practice to be able to get you through the tough times and to help you rejoice in the good times. But when you have that spiritual practice as an anchor, you are going to want to do it every day because you know you're a better person, you are more grounded, you are more centered when you do it. So, committing to the journey and your spiritual practice is so good for your soul. It also says to the universe, I'm willing to live larger than my current experience. That I am going to live past whatever condition I see in what is possible for me and in my life for me in my life. So I'm not going to just live by what the stock market's doing and what the president has just said. No, I'm going to live my life based on my inner guidance, what my God is telling me to do, when, and I'm going to know when and how to do it because I have committed to my practice. I have committed to my practice. So, friends, I'm telling you all this because this is what I've been experiencing. I'm telling you all this because I've heard it from so many of our members and students of our courses. They say, my goodness, I can't remember what life was like before I had a direction, before I had a vision, before I had goals, before I had practices, that before I had self care. You know, now not only do I feel like I'm taking care of myself, I'm going where I've always wanted to go. So that's what commitment to the journey will do for you. It will give you an anchor in times of trial. It will give you an anchor and a way to rejoice and enjoy all the good things. And it will also help you open to new ideas. Because as we commit to the journey and new situations arise and new opportunities arise, we go, oh yeah, that's for me, or that's for me, or oh yes, I need to stop doing that and start doing this. Commitment to your journey will bring so much clarity. So much clarity. One of the practices that's been so important for me is shifting a little bit of my daily focus. And I'm speaking mostly to the men here, even though I know there's some women that don't like to journal. When I say the word journal, I know most men go to sleep. Am I right, Dave?
Yeah.
Yeah. We were laughing about it in the class a few weeks ago. We had there's several men in the class, and I said journal, and I could just feel them. You know, they were polite and didn't roll their eyes, but wanted to. And I said, "Well," I said, "Men, I could feel that," and they were like getting red in the face. They were like, "How did you know?" That's what we thought. So since then, what I said in the class was, men, I know you don't like to journal. And when I say take an Epsom salt bath to clear the energy, you go, oh, men don't do baths. And I said, but what I've heard back from many men who've decided to do an Epsom salt bath is, you know what? I've been missing something for years. Women have it going on with the bath. And the men that commit to their journaling are like, oh my goodness, now I know I actually have a feeling and I know what I need to do about it. So, but I'm shifting my languaging, Dave, and I want to know if this will help. What I'm calling the journaling piece in the future classes is just my morning pages.
Mm.
My morning pages.
Yeah. Yeah. Journaling never really, I don't want to say it never stuck with me because when I was getting my whole kind of miracle morning thing off the ground, which I now, wow, it's going on a year, it'll be a year in August. Journaling was a pretty big part of that morning process. And I would journal the night before. And then, it was all about kind of goal setting and everything. But it wasn't, I don't guess it was specifically spiritual, but yeah, it kind of fell by the wayside once my morning routine kicked in.
Mhm. Well, but it was intentional, and so that's part of committing to the journey as well. And you're bringing up a good point, Dave, if you don't mind me riffing off that a little bit,
No, not at
because
all.
even if you start out with a journaling practice or with writing down your morning pages, even if later, if you shift, that initial commitment to the process took you somewhere. And that's what I was saying earlier, that when I say commit, it doesn't mean you stick with one thing and you never ever change.
Right.
Um, the intention, the commitment to do it for a certain amount of time, whether it's a day, a week, a month, or a year, as you set a commitment to follow a specific path or specific journey, or just, even vaguely say, I'm staying on my spiritual journey. Um, if that shifts and changes, well, that's okay as long as that shift is intentional. That's good. We want to shift, change, and then even have our work evolve. That's a word I use a lot, and that's what I was going to speak about. But I wanted to make sure I wasn't cutting you off about your process.
No, 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 it's fine.
No. Because in my morning pages, and by the way, I like thinking of them now as morning pages myself, because journaling is not quite right. When I say the word journal, it sounds like you're writing pages every day. And I have several short processes I do each morning. So, like, I do a page for each thing that's like double or triple space. So it's not like I'm writing 45 minutes a day. It's more like 15, but those 15 minutes are really packed with intention. And so people who take the course are going to get the in-depth explanation, but I've just as well as working with my feelings, I've gone in depth into working my I am statements every day, and it's really taking me into a new energy. I was kind of fighting with myself for a while there, and I've come out of that struggle because I was writing down my feelings, and I realized I was getting too associated with my feelings, and I wasn't coming up higher enough, kind of rising above enough into what is the higher nature happening. Like, I could tell you my feelings all day, but the truth is, the idea is that we have feelings, we're not our feelings. So then it's the question that begs to be asked is, if I am not my feelings, then am I? Well, okay, now I got somewhere. The I am presence is who I am, right? And so what is I am? I am peace, I am power, I am strength, I am love, I am hope, I am clarity, I am forgiveness, I am gratitude itself, I am joy, I am peace. And so what I've discovered is working with that on a daily basis is an incredible way to commit to those ideals for the day. And it helps me stay committed to the larger journey because of for lack of a better word, the amount of juice it gives me for the day. When I do my I ams, I feel so good. How could I not feel good after writing love, peace, joy, strength, hope, faith, forgiveness? How could I feel bad after I write that? So, yes, I have a feeling, but I am. What you're right, I am. So
Right.
naming the feeling so that the feeling doesn't come out sideways, but then what's my I am? I am. And then claiming that, writing that, and getting artistic with that, and making it as big as the page, going over 2 pages. I am, I am, I am. Whoa. And I'm committing to that now for the day. And then another page I read is just a list of I ams that just really downloaded that I needed to really focus on every day. And then after those I ams now is I create. And so every day I'm focusing on my I am, I'm focusing on what am I creating. And man, that has created this huge forward motion in my life. And it's touched every area of my life: financial, emotional, spiritual, biographical, even. So there's been a tremendous shift within me, and that's what I really honor with that shift is the tremendous work and commitment to my journey. And many of you know that that are taking classes or that watch on Sunday morning, that not only am I doing my journaling pieces every day, I'm also work one-on-one to do intense work on my dreams, working on my dream state. I work with my body on a regular basis, with exercise and mindfulness practices. So this is how we commit to the journey. This is how we commit to the journey, and this is what it gives us. So the question for all of us really is, it's always a reflection time in this show. This show is not do this, do that. This show is, hey, here's some spiritual conversations among friends. And the idea behind all of our shows is really to reawaken consciousness to love, acceptance, and peace. So when we're doing every show, there should be a time for all of us to kind of go, commit to the journey. Have I done that? Have I really committed to my journey? And is there a way I need to either do more? And if I do, what else needs to stop? So, see, this one question can really drive us deeper within ourselves so that we become more and more aware of what we're here to do. We are becoming more and more aware of what we're here to do. Commitment to the journey gives you that. You know what's yours to do because you have a clear, consistent God connection. You know what's yours to do because you're listening on a daily basis. You know what's yours to do because you're committed to listening to the voice of Spirit as you drive your car, as you do your meditation work. You are moving into more mindfulness as you do things around the house because you're committed to living a God-centered life. Commitment to the journey will give you all those things. So a great question to be asking is, well, if I haven't committed to my journey, then what have I committed to? What is it then? If it's not my journey, what have I committed my energy to? To being right? To being wrong? To saying the right thing or doing the right thing, which is, probably all made up in our minds anyway. So these are the questions we're working with today. Have I committed to my journey? If I have, wonderful. If I haven't, what needs to shift? A part of my journey I've been working with is, as a kid, I learned Spanish, so a lot of words in Spanish before I learned English because I had a lot of older siblings, as everyone knows, and I had a sister who was fluent in Spanish and would, she taught me to tell time, in Spanish and things. So before I learned in English, she taught me in Spanish. But as an adult, I've never had a very good Spanish class. And so during this time, I decided to commit to really learning Spanish. And so even though to you as a listener, it might not sound like a big thing, it takes time every day. And what I've learned is that if I miss a day or 2 days, my learning slows down and I have to go back and review the basics. So in our work spiritually, the same thing happens. When we commit and we do daily work, it's like we stay fresh, we stay aware, we stay awake, we stay alive with the Spirit of God, and we know our true divine connection. So this is important for us to be aware of. Commitment to the journey will bring you hope, will bring you peace, and will be an anchor as life happens, as life sends unexpected things. You will have your spiritual journey as your support. You will have your journey as a rock in your life. And you'll find that the people in your life start to see it and they'll depend on you in a way that they haven't before because they know in your journey. You are like, because you're a rock, they'll know there's going to be times where people will almost crash against you in their process, but you'll be able to hold it because you have committed to your journey. Because you have committed to your journey, because you have acknowledged your shared humanity, and because you realize your life is more than just getting a paycheck, having a place to live, and driving a car and paying taxes, because you know your life matters, because you know you're connected, your commitment to your journey will make a difference, not only to you and your family, but to the world. So this is our prayer for you, dear friends, that you commit even deeper to the work that you're doing, and know that we lift you up, we support you on the journey, we love you, and we bless you, and we behold all of God's goodness in you. So we thank you for joining us today, dear friend, and we'll see you next week. Many blessings.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey, presented by Natural Awakenings Magazine and Zen Living Realty. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is also made possible through the continued support of our angel patrons, Dove Borland, Peter Gibson, Paul Caswell, Arlene Meyer, Kathy and Terry, Marcia Mott, Nora Miles, Diana Cox, Leslie Williams, Susanna Garcia, Shayla Mount, Dorothy Moore, Aggie Payton, Taryn Tucker, and Anna Evans. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2020 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.